Holy cow. I don't think my throat's gonna work today. It's gonna try to work anyway. Today I want to talk about rider aids, electronic rider aids, if you will. All the extra electronics and modes and stuff on bikes. I don't know, I've looked around a bit and I can say that probably my bike has, I don't want to say the most because I don't know that for sure, but it's right up there with modes and all the electronics and extra good gadgetry and stuff that you can have on a bike. You know, like I've got the integrated GPS. Oh, well, it's not it's just a GPS. It's the Navigator 5 setup. And it does a crap ton. That requires a video all on its own. However, you know, back to all the electronics and riding modes and what have you. To get you in on what I'm what my history is with motorcycles is, without giving too much away, I guess. I got my first well, I guess it was an enduro, because back then they were called enduros. Now they're called dual sport. But my first bike was like a 71 or a 72 Kawasaki 90 Enduro. And that was one fun bike. I learned on that bike. Crashed it a few times, you know. Did a lot of off-roading with it. 15. Repaired it, crashed it, repaired it. You know the deal. And, you know, that started my love affair with motorcycles. But the thing is it was all like any like, you know, like this thing has rain mode where it cuts down the horsepower and really dumbs down the throttle response, so, you know, it just really reacts slowly. You know, you had to do that on your own. Like, you had to think about that stuff, you know? Like, it was like, hey, it's raining out, maybe I shouldn't act a fool. Well, as much a fool, you know? I don't know. You know, I thought, okay, well, all the rider modes, I'm thinking, okay, well, I just wanted to turn this thing loose and run it because that's what I like. This is my first bike with all the rider modes and all the extra electronics and stuff on it that your average, you know, I guess street bike that you would have gotten, say, 10 years ago or whatever, wouldn't have, or whatever. But anyway, my point is that I was on the fence about all of this electronic stuff because I was thinking, you know, like I don't need a mode to tell me that to take it easy in the rain, as an example. Now, there's one thing that I unequivocally am not going to argue with, and that's the ABS. ABS is a phenomenal thing to put on bikes, period. End of story. Full stop. Anybody who has an option to buy a bike and they have an option for ABS and they don't take it, in my opinion, they're an idiot. It is by far and away the best advancement for motorcycles, in my opinion. The rider modes offer you so many different variables in the way the thing maps out that it automatically gives you to shut off, like the automatic stability control stuff, so it doesn't, like, it won't pull a wheelie or it won't spin out. And you can shut that stuff off when you're off-roading or whatever and you're required to spin your tires, like if you're going through some sand or something. It's just really handy to be able to spin them, or to spin it, I guess, and just work your way through. You know, other situations it's better not to spin your tires, but you know, those of you who have experience in that situation, they understand how that works. But if you don't, take my word for it, there are times you want the tire to spin, and there are times that you don't really want it to spin. There are times you want to be able to pop the front wheel off the ground when you're off-roading. You know, if you're not have this thing in the proper mode, you can do all the proper interactions with the bike and, you know, input from your end, and it won't respond the way you expect it to, because it's designed to keep the front tire on the ground. You know, like if you want to hop the front tire up over a log, or, you know, whatever, a rock, whatever the situation is where you want to pop the front tire up over something, you know, to flatten out your landing when you're coming off a cliff or something, a small little cliff or whatever. You're not going to get that unless you have this thing in the proper mode, where you have the proper adjustments all set up. And so there's a reason why I really don't like the idea of modes. I would just like, you know, on one hand, to just shut it all off and be able to just run it with your brain, you know, and your skill level or whatever. But on the other hand, there are different situations where I really kind of dig the mode thing, like the electronics. Like right now, I have the cruise control set, and I'm just, you know, bouncing on down the road, having a good old time, and that's really awesome. I really dig that. Any other cruise control options that I've had in the past were not true cruise control. They were just throttle locks, and you know, we all know what that's about. But I really like cruise control. It's just, you know, maybe I'm getting older or whatever, but it's just really super nice to be able to kick the cruise on. You know, you're not stressing your hands out at all. You're just doing your thing, you know. But I don't know, you can shut, like this bike, you can shut all of that stuff off, and it will remember. Like from what I understand, KTMs won't remember. You have to reset everything every time you start out. You're resetting everything, which I guess in one hand would be kind of a pain in the ass, but on the other, it's like, you know, you get to start off fresh, you know, because you might not be wanting to do the same thing, you know, because a lot of times when you're riding, you're going from place to place, and you get like a long trail or whatever, you're riding with some friends, and then you stop to eat lunch or something, and when you get back on, you're not going to be hitting trails anymore. Now you're going to be on some blacktop, so you're going to be changing up your driving, what you're doing. So it's going to be a different setup altogether, because your riding surface has changed. You know, I'm still on the fence, to be honest with you, about so much of the riding mode things. There are times that I really dig the riding mode things. There are times that I really dig the way the bike handles in each mode for different situations. Now, Enduro and Enduro Pro on this bike are set up for knobby tires and off-road riding. If you don't have the knobby tires on there, it's not going to perform as well. Now, you know, back to the way I grew up is you just had what you had, and you rode it, and you did what you had to do to make it work. And I still kind of incorporate a lot of that. So like I can go to an enduro mode, and it gives me behavior indicative of an off-road kind of a dirt bike setup. Even though I got like 80/20 tires on here right now. Damn bikers. I have to say that I can off-road this thing quite well under the right circumstances. You know, like I'm not gonna go bombing through some mud and you know, what have you, and think that I'm gonna get anywhere, because that's not gonna work. Wet grass, stuff like that where I'm not really going to dig in and get a bunch of traction, clearly you're not going to do it. But if you're talking about relatively dry dirt, hard packed trails, some rocks, whatever, it performs well. Not 100% obviously, but it performs well. And I plan on doing a lot more of that. Some videos to come, I'm assuming, because I'm sure everybody would like to see that. I have fun doing it, so there you go. And then when I get some beefier tires on here, I'm going to go for some more open off-road tire, because I intend to do more of that. But anyway, the mode thing, it really helps. On one hand, it really helps. Like, you can just select it and forget it. It's kind of like it dumbs down the whole setup, so you don't have to worry about if you're selecting the right options for whatever it is you're doing. If you're not selecting the right options for whatever it is you're doing, like, you're not going to have it in rain mode and want to do a lot of off-roading and ripping up some trails, because it's just going to be really dumbed down for you. You're going to want more of a response, but you can do that in your hand too. Like, you can select it to do whatever, to respond the way you want it to, but then you can dumb it down if you want to manually. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence about some of the ride mode stuff. Some of the stuff is really kind of handy. Again, I'm not going to talk about ABS because that's just the shit. That might getting a little sandblasted by a goddamn dirt truck. I can see some riding modes, some bikes with riding modes, like some street bikes are coming out with it's an A and B mode where you got full power and like they cut the power, like a significant amount. Like some leader bikes are coming out and they're cut the power to match that of, like, say 600s or thereabout. And that's probably a good idea too for like more of your beginning riders. But once you graduate to that leader bike option, well, I don't really see a reason at any point to dumb down your power from there. Like, I can see it as a stepping tool on the way up, but once you graduate to like A mode or whatever it is, where it's full on full power option, I don't see the need or the reason for going back after that, because what's the point? If you don't want that much power, don't twist the goddamn throttle that hard. Maybe that's kind of my old school coming out, but I don't know if anybody wants to correct that or give me a reason why, after being able to handle or what have you, I don't know what you want to call it, graduating to, or deciding that you appeased the motorcycle gods enough to where you can ride a 1000 or whatever. I don't know. But once you graduate into A mode, if you will, what's the point of going back to B mode at any point? What's the upside there? I don't get it. Maybe I don't have to get it. Who knows?